Okay, Boston's Ariella is back and Blue is back. I'm excited. Sorry, guys, for the delay. For the audience to know, we haven't recorded in months, and I'm really excited to talk to Ariella and Blue. And we want to continue Boston's podcast, um, and we'll go through it. What we want to talk about first is the Olympia. And before the Olympia, I wanted to ask about Jax. So we haven't heard from Jax for a long time. So you said he's in kindergarten?
So it's VPK. It's like a program to get them ready for kindergarten. It's from 9 to 12 Monday to Friday. So it gives me like those 3 hours to do my errands, to do some cardio in the morning. So it's great. And he learns a lot in it too, which is great.
But what don't they start kindergarten at like 4 or 3?
5.
Oh, really?
So yeah, so he'll be 5 in April. So he's the perfect age for this program. And then after, I have to look into schooling for him too. There's some schools I looked into, but it's just I've had so much going on that I I put him in VPK, and I'm like, you know what, I'll just figure it out when he's older. And but yeah, he's doing good so far, and they learn a lot in it, and the program's really good.
But Ariella, you've been training. Every time I see your profile, I don't know the details, but I always see you huge. Have you been
Yeah.
working out? You look huge.
Thank you. So after everything with Boston, I wasn't eating for like a really long time, and I went from like 170s to like one. I lost a lot of weight. I lost probably like 20
Really?
pounds or something. Um, and I was like, you know what? Let me just get back into the gym, because that mentally I needed that structure of just waking up, eating, cardio, training. Like I just needed that regiment, because otherwise I would have gotten super depressed if I didn't have like a routine. So that's really what fueled me to get back into working out. And then it's insane how fast the muscle memory came back. Like within the matter of weeks, I was just like, oh, this is great, seeing a little definition, because I wasn't doing anything before. I was like training with Boston randomly, but like I would do no headphones. I wouldn't do a pre-workout. Leo, I would train after like eating fast food. I wouldn't eat all day, then train. Like I wasn't taking it seriously. It was just to like spend time with Boston, you know? Um, so I really hadn't taken it seriously until probably the end of March into April. And then I just progressed really well, and I have that like that itch again, you know, just to get into the gym every day.
That powerful itch. You became powerful again.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so I wanted to ask about Anakin. How's Anakin?
Good, man. It's amazing. I'm sucking up every moment. Every moment. You remember I have
So
older kids, so I'm kind of reliving everything over again.
yeah, exactly. For the audience that doesn't know, you have older children and you have a very young child. For people
Yes, I
that
have
don't
a
know.
22-year-old, a 23-year-old, and a 1-year-old.
That's crazy. That's so
Yeah.
difficult, man. I don't know how you did it. That you go through the whole child rearing thing all over again.
Yeah, it's amazing though, man. Little things, my wife and I, it's just things that we went through, with our other kids. It's just a completely different perspective now. We were children raising children before, but now being older, more mature, established, stuff like that. It's just a different perspective on things. But we're loving every second of it, absolutely.
Yeah, children raising children is a good description. Okay, I'll tell you guys about Thailand. So I'm in a room in a house in Tony Hughes' house. Well, both of us are renting a house. It's very interesting. So we have like a 5 bedroom house in Thailand, and it's very unusual. Tony is a very unusual guy. Let me show you how unusual Tony is. Tony sent me a message tonight. This is ridiculous. Listen to this. He sent me a message. I just saw this message because I was late coming to the thing. It says, Pookie is sending you rental house options on an app called Line. Most of these types of things will happen online. It's an app because all the real estate agents use Line. So check those messages sometimes. I'm at the gym working out with a Thai tomboy lesbian. It's also a possible solution to my issue because if I have one of these, then she's a lesbian. She finds other girls. Like what? Tony's obsessed with threesomes. So
Tony
he's
hasn't
obsessed.
changed at all.
Oh, obsessed with threesomes. Like his whole life is
Yeah.
he's trying to organize threesomes and stuff. It's very funny. So yeah, it's a fun time. Okay, so next, yeah. So I wanted to. I'm in Thailand. I've been spending time with Tony, and he's really fantastic. Oh wait, let me see.
Have you went on a tuk tuk yet?
Yeah, I did when I was like 10. I came to Thailand first when I was like 10 or 11 years old. I came here twice for a month when I was young. Thailand's an interesting place, man. It's not for me. I gotta tell you the truth. It's really not for me. It's funky. It's very funky. Okay, so next we wanted to talk about the Olympia. So what did you guys think about that? Let me ask this question. Did you guys expect Rami when you saw Rami go off? Did Ariella, did you watch the Olympia?
I did, yeah, I did. My friend actually had a Christmas party the same day, so we were all on the couch watching it. I didn't watch the full thing, but I did watch some of it. Yes.
What did you think when you saw Rami off to the side? So this is what happened. Everybody saw Rami off to the side, like he was like out of the selection on the right side, and people were thinking that that people were thinking that Rami is certainly not in the running because he's off on the side, and they didn't people were thinking that Rami won't have a shot at being at the top just because he was off to the side. Like people were judging his placing because he was placed on the side. They were judging based on how the judges were putting him. Did you guys see Rami's physique as being fifth place when you saw him? Did you judge that?
Yeah, I mean, when he showed the video, when I seen what he looked like a week out, a couple weeks out, I thought everything was on schedule, everything was good.
Yeah,
When
me
he
too,
showed
right?
up, yeah, because so many people asked me what my predictions were, and I was like, he's going to win it again. He has everything. It's no doubt. But then when I seen him come out, I was like, oh fuck, like something was way off. And then when they put him out to the side, I was like, wow, okay. But you notice that in the finals, they still moved him around the center for a second. So he was compared. So I thought, okay, they're still going to give him some love, but they didn't. They definitely let him know that the way he came in was not rewardable. He was way off, way off. I don't know what happened behind the scenes. I know Dennis watches over him, at the end, but I think for him, at this stage, he needs Chad right by his side at the end. And I'm not sure how that plays out, but definitely way off.
Chad was at his side. The thing is, Ariel, I don't know if you saw him. People were complaining that, first of all, they were complaining about his quads before he came because they were like dense on them. Then they were complaining about his back being undersized. Then they were complaining about his triceps being undersized. But I don't, what did you think of his condition, Ariel?
His you didn't hear anyone talk about his glutes. He had those like upper.
Yeah.
Well, it's like if we get it, like everybody on that stage is taking steroids. They're probably trying to move around, pinning into as much areas as they can without getting lumps. So like we get it, but like they don't want to see that on stage, So those were the first thing that stuck out to me was when he flexed his glutes from behind, like those two pointy marks just stood out. And then his quads it was just weird. It's just, he wasn't like him. He didn't seem like he was on. And it's like you compare it to weeks out, same thing with Sarah. Physique, you compare him to weeks out, and then you're like, well, what happened on stage? Sarah's situation is different though, because she tried to come in softer. I don't know if you saw that. And then it failed.
Sarah Villegas? Is that her?
Yes.
Okay.
She's insane. I think if
Physique?
she's shredded like all the time, she's shredded weeks out. She has to actually tone it down to come in. And that's what she did. She stays shredded like 7 weeks out. That way she could slowly kind of fill in and bring the look that she's known for bringing. But what happened this year was she toned it down a little bit. Her abs weren't as lean. She wasn't as crisp that like she was weeks out when she was posting photos. So then you're like, well, what happens? You look like that. And then on stage, it's like, that happens a lot with competitors, not just her. You're like, what happens in those few weeks, those few days? You know, they're posting hotel shots where they look amazing and they're like, oh, you're going to win it. And then on stage, it's like they're softer, or like, what happened? But with Sarah, she tried to bring in a softer look because she thought that that's what they wanted, and they didn't. And they rewarded somebody else over her. I forget who, Blue, what's her name? That one.
Which one?
Yeah, I'm very confused about the physique.
Women's physique. She'd been like a top runner for years. Natalia?
Natalia, yeah, she finally got it. Yeah.
She did, which was deserved. She came in super lean, but I do think that if Sarah came in her best, she's untouchable. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Untouchable.
I agree. Because even beforehand, when people asked me about that, hey, who do you think is going to win? I was like, oh yeah, she's going to get it again. There's
100%.
nobody close. But Natalia caught her slipping.
Exactly. So Sarah posted again, like, you're not going to catch me trying to soften up again. I'm not going to try to make the judges or anyone else happy, or all these, people are trying to get into her head. Oh, you should come in this way. Women's physique should be this. And it gets into your head. And she's like, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm just going to come in the way that I know I can come in. So if she does that, she has it again,
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I ask you guys, what do you think about like women's bodybuilding compared to women's physique? I get confused when I see them on stage, because women's physique, okay, this is really, really like amateur of me, but when I look at the women's bodybuilding, it looks sort of out of place. Like the physique competitors have a better physique overall. The women's bodybuilders seem to be, I don't know, it's not streamlined. Like they have
like they have the blocky waist. It's like they're not as, yes, they don't have that like aesthetically pleasing X factor where they're the small waist and the big shoulders, and which they, with all the stuff that they're on, but that's genetics too. Some of them, they just, they're taking all the GH and they're blowing their waist out and they're just overdoing it too much. But there are those women who can do bodybuilding and really be on point with the shape and the symmetry too. Women's physique is like turning into, it's insane, because when I first competed in 2012, I think physique was just kind of hitting the NPC and IFE, like they just added it. And my figure back then, when I competed on stage in 2012, that wouldn't have been able to stand a chance nowadays with the figure chicks, because it's insane how much bikini figure and physique has progressed. It's nuts. Like just the muscle that they want, the definition that they want, because in women's physique, they didn't used to want striations. I might be wrong on that. I'm pretty sure that years ago, they didn't want really visible, like lean, hard striations, because that was bodybuilding. They had to distinguish between physique and bodybuilding, and they only added physique for the women that were maybe too muscular for figure, but not big enough for bodybuilding. And now it's like these physique chicks, it's like they're massive, they're huge, they're veiny, they're striated. It's like, it's insane. That's why if I ever want to compete again, I'm like, I don't know.
But the top bodybuilding chick is incredible. I forgot her name.
Yes. Are you talking about the really pretty black girl?
Yeah.
I don't know her name too, but she's
amazing.
She's gorgeous. She has a great shape, great muscle. She keeps her femininity. I don't know her name, but I admire.
She keeps her femininity incredibly so, right?
She does.
Very impressive.
Very
okay,
impressive.
so this is what my thought was, honest. So when I saw Rami come on stage, I thought that to be honest with you, I actually thought he was in very good condition. I don't know. It sounds a little bit ridiculous, but he was the driest he's ever been. He was the leanest he's ever been on stage. Rami. He did obviously lose size, and I think it was possibly because, like, he lost size, I think, because he was so dry and not so filled with glycogen. But I don't know if it was because he wasn't in good condition. Anyway, the point is, when I saw him on stage, I thought he was
Leo, my question is, like, I know Dennis watches over him at the end, but is Chad in person like within the last 48 hours?
Yeah, Chad. I don't want to go in. Yeah, Chad. There was a little bit of an issue this Olympia.
Yeah, because I'm sure there was something behind the scenes. You know what I'm saying? I always tell everybody, the greatest coaches on the planet is Chad and Hani. I love
Did you guys get disconnected? Oh. Guys, I'm so okay. It's recording again. You guys did it?
Yeah. I figured
Can I
something was
show you
with you.
something funny? Tony just sent me a message. He said, I'm going to head to a tomboy lesbian bar. Not far from you. Now, if you're interested, I know you don't like seeing T-girls that much, but I figure I should probably start offering to you just in case you're ever in the mood, since there's quite a lot of interesting things like this that I still haven't seen also.
Hold on. What's a T girl?
It's a transsexual lady.
Oh, bro. No, I'll throw up.
Oh, this is my life. It's very entertaining. Okay, so yeah, so I thought he was in good condition. Hardy was excellent though. Obviously, I understand why they gave it to him.
Amazing.
Derek was amazing. I think Derek is like a life-changing physique. Like we've never seen anyone in the history of bodybuilding with that kind of strength, or that
Yeah.
kind of condition, that kind of
Once he wins the Olympia, he'll keep it for years. Like Derek has the potential to be a Jay Cutler. He has the potential to hold on to it. He has absolutely everything. He's approachable. He's marketable. He has everything. It's just a matter of him getting at one time.
Except Andrew
who?
Jack. Andrew Jack.
Andrew Jack. I like his physique, but the thing is still from the rear, he does not have that. He does not have the conditioning of those guys in those upper spots. Once he fully fills out his frame and then brings the conditioning from the rear, he's going to be insanely dangerous.
Okay,
I agree.
I want to challenge you bodybuilders on this subject. When you see Andrew Jack on stage, there is no question he is the most impressive physique on stage. You can't lie. You can when he stands facing front on a standing relax, nobody competes with him. Nobody on the stage. He looks far better than everybody else. And so I was just shocked. Like he ended up ninth, or no, ninth is one. I think he ended up eighth or something like that. I just don't understand exactly how. I understand when he turned around, his glutes and abs are not dug in, but that's one body part. Everything else is far better than everyone else.
No, I agree. I think he has a great physique, but that's a huge thing for the judges. I mean, some of these judges, when they look at that, that is the one thing. If that is not up to par, you're getting moved to the side.
Can I be honest about this? So obviously we understand that body fat gets removed from the glutes last. So if you're looking at competitors and you see that glutes aren't dug in, you understand that they're not as competitive in a way. But it's a little gay. It's a little gay to be obsessed with people's glutes, to be honest with you. It's a little gay. When you're standing on stage, you look at everyone's glutes. Oh, his glutes are, I want this.
I don't think
why obsessed with the glutes?
I don't think they're looking at it that way. The way they're looking at it is basically this guy made the ultimate sacrifices. He got every bit of fat off. That's the way they're looking at it as is this guy did everything. He suffered more than the guy next to him because they look at it not just as a physical weakness, but honestly, they look at it as a personal weakness, a mental weakness of, okay,
Yeah.
You couldn't go through what the guy next to you went through. And so you just took your prep a little lighter.
Yeah,
that's
because
true.
Leo, if somebody turns around and has striated glutes, the rest of them is going to be up to par. Nobody's ever going to turn around, have striated glutes, and have a soft abs or soft shoulders or soft
Derek
glutes. Derek
has striated. He has an excellent backside, and his front chest and abs are sort of washed out.
Oh, Lunsford?
Yeah.
Are you talking about Lunsford?
Yeah, it's slightly his front is soft.
But it's overall, he lacks still some maturity there. It's just
maturity
because he's so young.
He's still overall in shape. And yeah, some people, genetically will have their glutes come in easier than others. Other people have to like Andrew Jack, you can tell when he turns around, he's going to have to really suffer to get those glutes in. But a lot of bodybuilders have that. Like Cedric, he was one of me and Boston's favorite bodybuilders, and he could have had the Olympia so many times if he just came in shape with his glutes, if his glutes were just crisp, you know,
I
like he
agree.
had the potential. He had the most, I mean, he had the most impressive physique because he's tall. He filled his frame out. He was really, really aesthetically pleasing to look at. He had that old school look, but also the like new school, like muscle, like he was really big and he filled out his frame, but he couldn't come in like 100%. And the one time he came in his best, I think that was the year that he won the Arnold. So he had the potential, but I think the glutes is just like, it's just the thing in bodybuilding. It's like, if your glutes aren't in, then most likely the rest of you isn't going to be that impressive either. You know,
Ariella, what did you think of Nick Walker crunching down on his abs in all the positions? Did you guys notice this? When he crunches down on his abs in the the front double bicep, he moves down and it makes his biceps look sort of turned in. I don't think it's a very impressive look, but I think he does it because he has to shorten the torso. Obviously, everyone's talking about that. But what
do
do
you
you
mean
think
like
of that?
from the front or
He
from
goes like
behind?
this. Yeah, from the front, he goes like this. From behind also. From behind, he can't spread his lat very well. I think it's because he's crunched down also. It's an interesting look. What do you think about that?
Okay. I'm pulling it up now.
Yeah, I know what you're
I
talking
should.
about. I think he does it honestly to try to create some more detail from the front, but also because his torso is longer. I think that's why. He's just that's the one weapon he's lacking is structure. So he's trying to create more from the front. He's he's in an awkward position, man, because he's going to get near the top, but the thing is, those guys with structure is always going to be that bump in the road. That's just as long as
Yeah.
you have another guy that has the same size and conditioning, he's never going to get past them. And so he's trying to create other things. If I was him, and I've told this to many people, he needs and his conditioning isn't even 100%. He's got a freak factor, but his legs still need to come up from the front. Like Nick is a good guy, and I wish the best for him. But honestly, he should hire Hani. He should absolutely hire Hani. I've said it to multiple people.
I don't think he
He
can. I assume that Hani doesn't want him to be a sponsored athlete for EvoGym. Otherwise, he would. I mean, I assume everybody right now would hire Hani if they could, right?
yeah.
Hani
I
doesn't
mean,
take
I
on.
don't know exactly.
For the audience, Blue was Hani's client, just for people to know.
Yeah. Hani's amazing. Hani is seriously the best coach on planet Earth. I mean, it is what it is. I'm never prideful with that stuff. That's why I always speak out to people and tell you who's fake and who's not. I have no problem doing it. But yeah, if he went to Hani, he would be with somebody that can actually maximize his off season in a healthy manner. And then there's no roll of the dice. You were going to peak perfectly. There's no question about it. Everything at the end will be completely fluid, but but that's part of the trend in the sport today, though. Guys hire free coaches. That's part of the trend, unfortunately, and I talked to a couple of guys after the Olympia, that reached out to me and are like, what do you think, this and that? And I'm like, well, who do you work with? And, a couple of them, I was completely blunt. I'm like, you hire this guy, he's not charging you anything because he's using you for marketing, but
Yeah,
you look
everyone.
like shit. Yeah, there's so many guys, they look like melted candy bars. And the thing is
No, go ahead. Sorry.
oh yeah, I was just gonna say, some of these guys, they get the free coach, they get the free subs, and they get someone that's going to hold their hand and tell them they look so great. But you know what? After the Olympia, after the lights go off, you're pissed about the way you look. So you got your handheld, you got the free gear, you got the free coaching, but you're furious after your placing and how you looked. It's you need to regroup, change the perspective, put out the money, hire a real coach with a real resume that can get you to where you need to be. Because if some of these guys went to Hani, just the way that Chad had a group of people in the 90s, he had them all at their best and let them battle it out. I would love to see someone like Hani have a group of guys that were all at their absolute best and let them battle it out.
But I don't
But
know if
that's just
Hani
my
wants that.
opinion.
Does Hani want that? Because like, if you think about it, for Epogen, he wants the top two athletes. He has the top two athletes. So I don't know
Yeah.
if he wants to have like 5 guys competing for the Olympia and he's putting all his energy into each of them. Can I say something? I want to shit on people a little bit. George Farah is a horrible coach. I don't know why this guy gets great feedback. He did horribly with Andrew Jack repeatedly, 3 times in a row last year. First, he said 80% condition, then he said 85% condition or something like that. And then he brought him to the Olympia just looking the same as last time. And I just don't like
that
when.
comes back to that. Oh, go ahead.
No,
Sorry,
no,
go
I just
ahead.
don't. No, no, go ahead, go ahead.
Well, my thing is this, it comes back to that same thing. George Farah is really good with some people. Some people, because he has one way of doing things. Well, he was great with Branch Warren. He was great with Dexter Jackson. He was
Dexter
fantastic.
Jackson is always in condition no matter what. That's why
Yeah,
he met
I
George.
know, I
That's
know.
why. It's
No,
not
I know,
good.
but once he has his
George is nonsensical, by the way.
recipe,
Whenever he talks about insulin, he doesn't make sense in biology. He's like, oh, insulin causes cancer, and I hate insulin, and insulin ruined bodybuilding. The things he says doesn't make sense all the time. I agree that insulin is a negative aspect in bodybuilding, but he doesn't understand what insulin is. And he got colon cancer, obviously. He doesn't know about vitamin D, magnesium, calcium affecting colon cancer. He never talks about it. He just talks about insulin. He clearly has a, and every time he talks about stuff, he's like, my doctor, my wife is a doctor. And he just starts talking about his wife being a doctor. What does that have to do with anything? Anyway, my point is that
yeah.
George, I don't understand like his conditioning. I haven't seen him bring anyone in condition except Dexter Jackson. I didn't know about what's his name?
Branch Warren.
Branch Warren. I didn't know that he was training that.
Yeah, I mean,
Trained him in
his
the last 2
recipe
weeks?
for a couple of people have worked well, but you know, George is a nice guy. But the thing is that I don't want to name certain names, but there's other people that because they were fantastic, well-known bodybuilders as pros in the 90s, they now coach and absolutely, you know, maybe hit the mark 5% of the time, but people still hire them because who they were as a bodybuilder, as a pro in the 90s. So it's honestly, if George wasn't who he was in the 90s as a pro,
Yeah.
would people go and hire him? No. And you got to remember, it still comes back to that same thing, is that George uses Andrew for marketing, right? So he's not going to be that same coach like Hani or somebody or myself that's going to say, I don't care who you are. You're fat from the rear or soft, whatever you want to call it. You're not up to par. We're going to the Olympia to have you at your absolute best. I don't care who you are. This is what you need to do. And it's okay if you walk away. But other people have to hold on to those people and tell them, look at Hunter Labrada. It's the same thing. People use him for marketing, hold his hand, tell him he looks great. He goes on stage, looks absolutely horrible. It's the same thing. He needs in his corner that will just tell him, hey, I don't care who you are, what your name is, you're soft, you're better than this.
Can we talk about Hunter? Ariella, I don't know if you're interested in this, but Hunter last Olympia confused the hell out of me because he did like very well in his placing, but he was very soft. Like very soft. He had a good shape, but he was very soft. And of course, people are bringing up the fact that this guy doesn't eat solid food, which I think is a bit ridiculous. Probably he's having some inflammation from maybe even from the like 0-calorie sweeteners. I don't know what it is, but he has some like light film of water also, not just fat, and he also has fat. But anyway, the point is this: so like last Olympia, he got an undeserved placing. Everybody agrees about it. And then this Olympia, he did very poorly, and he came in just as bad condition as last Olympia, almost. Everyone's saying he came in better. I don't know what you're talking about. He came in similarly bad. So what do you think about that? What do you think about the fact that his father is a top competitor? He had a good coach before, or like a guy that was well respected, and he still does. Ben is a nice guy and helpful, but he's constantly delivering bad condition. What is
Yeah,
this guy
but
doing?
but it comes to that same thing though. And it's not me talking shit. It's real. Just like I've said it forever with everybody. Check the resume. Look these dudes up. Just because they were affiliated with a certain bodybuilder who was successful does not mean look them up. Where's your clients? Where's the resume? As soon as they look these dudes up, I had people that messaged me about his coach, and I said, I'm not going to say a word. Go to his Instagram, count his bodybuilders. Show me someone he's turned into a freak. Show me somebody he's gotten shredded. Multiple people text me back and said, fuck, dude, I thought you just talked shit. Everything you're saying is absolute facts. And it's not me being a jerk. It's that same thing. They hire a coach that's maybe local, wants to hold their hand. The coach is like, fuck, I'm going to use this dude for marketing so other people will hire me. This guy's going to look like shit. I don't know what I'm doing. It's the same thing over and over. And Hunter could be so much better, but he needs somebody in his corner that's going to say, hey, again, I don't care who you are, who your dad is, you know, what your last name is. You need to be pilled. Do you want to be first call out at the Olympia? Do you want to be in the top 5?
He could
This is
be
what
first
you
call
need
out.
to do. Absolutely.
That's the
But you know
sad thing.
what? He doesn't have the guidance in his corner or the accountability for someone to just say, hey, you know, what I do isn't free. You want to be at the top. This is what you need to do. I don't need you for marketing. You know, if you want to eat cereal and drink protein shakes, then the door's over there. But other people aren't going to do that because they have no clients and they're going to hold on to that one guy to market him.
Can I be honest? So guys, just for the audience listening, when I started to help William Bonac, everyone started to respect me. Or people started respecting me more than before in bodybuilding. Because I was an arm wrestler. I don't know much about bodybuilding. But clearly I helped William Bonac with his off season last year, which is when he grew massively. And I wrote the off season, not Chad in the beginning of the off season. So some people were like respecting that. I just want to be clear that when you have a athlete like that in the top 10, in any way you help them, everyone starts to like take your advice with seriously. So what I wanted to say is that having like Andrew Jack or having one of these guys is a huge credibility to your CV or to your resume. And people are living off that stuff. Like if you get a top 10 guy, it will make your career as a coach. So people should keep that in mind. What you should look at is the top 10 guy that's not coming in condition. Like William was not in great condition this Olympia. If you see that happening, then you know that the coach is not doing well because he has an elite athlete and he's not bringing him in condition like Hunter. Can I ask something? So we have to talk about Samson, but briefly about Nick. Matt Johnson, I want to understand how the hell, Blue, I want your impression. How does he get these muscles to be so segmented and so filled with glycogen, but then on the outside, superficially so dry? What is this look? Do you know what it is? And what I want to ask you is this.
Well,
Do they keep GH in? Do they
that's
keep
the
it
thing
in?
that's the thing with the growth hormone. It depends on the person. Some guys will have them run all the way to the day of the show. They're still dry. It depends on the person. But you have to look at, again, who he's working with. I've said it before. Sean Clarita, Stevie Wonder could train. He would still look the same. Same with Nick. These things are not, it's not rocket science. If you take an average guy and have Matt peak them, they don't look like that. They don't
That's
even
what I'm
look
wondering.
even close.
What do they look like? Yeah.
Well, the magic is their genetics, how they respond to those drugs. Some of these guys, you don't have to do much at all. I have some guys where I don't have to do shit. I can keep water the same and they wake up on show day like it's a Tuesday and they look they look absolutely insane. But there's you know, just like me in Boston used to always just beat the drum, you know, when you really do your research, look these dudes up. It's not how is he doing it? How is he creating this look? No. Why is it that it's only 2 or 3 guys he's able to create this look with, and the other 100 guys look like garbage? You see what I'm saying? And it's not talking shit, it's the truth. Once you really look into it, you're like, okay, what's the one variable here that those 3 guys have? Why is he able to peak them and not the other 100 guys? It's because genetically they're able to get so lean to where their body doesn't hold on to water. You know, everything is just formulated correctly. There doesn't need to take a lot of manipulations. Guys like that, you could peak blindfolded. Nick still needs to get a bit drier. You know, his conditioning is not perfect.
Really?
Um,
Well,
yeah, he
well, his
definitely needs to
glutes.
get.
His
Yeah,
glutes
that
are not
from the
perfect.
rear side, he still needs to get drier. I think he's
Yeah.
fine from the front, but from the rear, Sean has been crazy conditioning like that since day one. He's always had crazy conditioning. He took his time over the years to put on the size, and John Meadows is the one who had a lot to do with, you know, him putting on all that size. So it's like
Really?
people forget about that fact, you know, and then you know, at the end Matt gets all the glory, you know, but again,
I didn't know.
it's a couple of guys that respond exceptionally well to chemicals, and it's not a method, because if it was a method, then why did the other 100 people look horrible?
I didn't know that. I thought Matt Jansen was creating a similar look because Sean Clarita has a very similar look to Nick Walker on his muscle.
Yeah, but yeah, and again, you could say, okay, well, Sean looks great. Well, why does Brett not look like that? You know what
Brett
I'm saying?
Wilson?
Yeah, Brett Wilkin looks nothing like that. You know what I'm
Yeah, I
saying?
haven't
There's
seen him on
a couple
stage.
of times he showed up where he looked absolutely horrible, and then you look at Matt's amateurs. How come these guys look nothing like that? It's because of the actual athlete and how they respond to these chemicals. Some of these guys are so genetically inclined that it doesn't take a whole lot to do anything.
Can I ask you something? Ariella, you haven't talked for a while. I don't know if you're bored, but I want to ask you guys about Samson. Okay, guys, can you explain Samson to me? Because, okay, look, I seem to be very negative today, but I'm not trying to be negative. When I see Samson on stage, first of all, I respect Samson and Milos a lot. Milos is very nice to me and very friendly. And uh, when I had this episode last year, Milos was one of the first people to reach out to me. Even, I mean, he reached out to me for no reason, encouraged me to continue making my videos, told me that I had a good influence. And this was at a time where I was arguing with Milos, so I like Milos very much. But can we just be honest about Samson? First of all, he has a linea alba separation. His abs are separating in the center, like what what's his name? Our friend that died, Chad's client that died at 28 or 27. The huge guy. He's like
Are you
Nick
talking?
Walker, first
Oh,
first
you're
round.
talking. Yeah, but that wasn't Chet when Dallas died. He was with Matt Jensen.
Yeah, it wasn't with exactly. It was with Matt Johnson. Yeah. So Dallas had that huge separation in his abs. So Samson has a similar separation. And Nick, by the way, okay, let me tell the guys the truth. So Nick Walker, I don't want to comment on this because I love Nick Walker, but I have to say it now. So last year, his abs were very defined, like statuesque. It was incredible. This year, everyone's like, oh, he has amazing abs. Nick Walker has the best abs on stage. He's going to look great. He has these washboard abs. But this year, it's separated. And now that it's separated, it will never, mark my words, it will never be the same again. And what will happen is slowly it'll get washed out, sort of the way Williams is and other people's that start separating and the abs are less clear. He's already in the process of doing it. But Thompson is separated. If you look at his abs, they're not very clear. They're separated. His waist is slightly wide, actually, even though his hips are narrow. But then his double bicep looks, in my opinion, horrible. His biceps look really bad. I don't know what it is. When he looks like this, he has the great V shape. Once he does this, it doesn't look good. It's flat. I don't know what it is exactly. I don't know if he's injecting his arms or something like that. But the other thing he has is a V-shaped head. I don't know if you notice this. His head gets wider like a pyramid, upside down. And no, I'm not insulting him. I don't know if it's due to
No, I
GH. It
know.
could be before GH, but it's so bad that when he poses, he's going like a V, and then his head is doing another V. So it's like ruining the aesthetic, in my opinion. And I just don't know exactly how he beat Andrew Jack. I know, actually, I don't know. His glutes weren't better than Andrew's much. So I
Those
don't
guys
really
are so
understand.
similar. Those guys are
I
so
don't really
similar.
understand how he did better than Andrew.
Both of those guys need to fully fill out their frames and then be
Yeah.
completely killed and drive from the rear. Both of those guys, if they brought that package, it'd be very hard to beat. Very hard to beat. But again, an off season, really putting on denser tissue, staying leaner in the off season, so they create a new standard for themselves. So that way, when they do go into prep, that they're starting from a different point, you know, that will end up leading to thinner skin, you know, leaner conditioning from the rear. But honestly, like they say, you know, you win the shows in the off season. I think that they,
Yeah, I think so.
you know, they need to get with somebody that can truly grow in the off season,
Well,
truly.
this is, let's be honest, this is, and I respect Milos tremendously, but I've never seen him grow, and I don't, Milos would maybe offended by this, but I've never seen him grow someone in the offseason. I mentioned this last year with Boston when Milos took Regan on. I said Regan will not grow. And this is the worst choice for him because he's already big. He never ends up in great condition. He's not big enough. He needs a proper offseason, like with Jansen or Chad or somewhere like that. But Milos gets people filled out and brings them in condition, usually on stage. But the problem is he's going from competition to competition. You're not doing that long off season. And I know Samson grew tremendously last year. It's unusual. Milos usually doesn't do that. He did that with Nasser and a couple of other guys because of their response to insulin. And maybe Samson was diabetic, by the way. His response is so good that he may have been diabetic. Because like if you respond that much to insulin, you gain 30 pounds, probably you were diabetic and you were not able to store glycogen before and not just store nutrients before. But anyway, my point is he's not doing that off season. So I don't know how, I don't know. It's not a good choice for him. It's surely not a good choice to spend a year like this, going from competition to competition. And plus, he's going to destroy his kidneys. He's going one after the other. What do you think about that? Shouldn't he have an off season, like 6 to 8 months, and gain 5 pounds of muscle?
Are you asking me or Ariella?
Yeah, Blue or Ariella. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Again, trying to be respectful here and not saying names, anything like that.
Yeah.
I can't count how many of these guys reach out to me in the off season and they're like, dude, I know you're brutally honest. Tell me what's up. What do you think about this? And I tell them the truth. I'm like, dude, you know, this is what's up. You need to do this, you know, and a couple of them, not a couple, more than a few have said, dude, I couldn't handle you because you're so OCD and you're a lot harder. You let things slip. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's me, you know, my nature. Like, I want you to be, I would like you to come out on stage and fucking blow people's minds to where people are like, what did he do? And a couple of these guys, two dudes, well, I had, you know, a few people at the Olympia this year, two guys I ghost trained, looked at their best ever, and I'm not going to say their names, anything like that. And their coach got the credit. I never said anything. I still won't. And even like these other dudes, I said, hey, you know, if I was to do your stuff, as long as I get paid and I do my job, because I don't do free coaching, I don't do hand holding, any of that. I was like, you know, you can give the credit to whoever you want. I truly don't even care. I do this because I'm OCD and I absolutely love doing what I do. You know, you can give the credit to whoever you want. I just want to see you come out absolutely freaky. But some of these guys don't want to do that. You know, they want to be able to have a flexible off season. They want to be able to go and eat or party or do whatever. They need somebody that's hardcore, you know, in their corner. That's, you know, very, you know, big on health, but isn't going to allow them to just send in check-ins and look like shit and say, okay, you know, I'll be better next week. That's not doable. If you know, do you want to go to the Olympia or do you want to go to the Olympia and actually get looked at? There's a big difference.
Ariella, what do you think?
Yeah, everything that Blue said, it's really hard to find coaches like Blue that are willing to coach somebody, not get credit for it, and be totally okay with it. Because a lot of these coaches, it's the opposite. They want the credit. They want people to be like, oh my God, you're amazing. You brought this person in like this, you know? So it's very rare to have somebody like Blue that's like, look, I don't care if I get the credit. I just want you to be your best. So that's really rare. That's my comment on that. The comment before, you talking about Samson, I actually had to pull up his Instagram because I couldn't even tell you what he looked like before you even said his name, because I'm not familiar with bodybuilders, but it seemed like he had that ab separation even in 2018, and it just seemed like it progressively got worse because he posted like a before and after, and it's like he had it there and it just got worse, and now it's farther apart. And the same thing with those other his head shape as well. I think he always kind of had, that's kind of like just what Blue was talking about before, just like genetics and drugs. Even with the small stuff like the bad side effects, like Boston, for example, with all the stuff he ran, he never lost any hair, which was bizarre. But some guy could take 1/10 of the dose of Boston and just go bald. It's just like their genes, just, it's such a big part of bodybuilding. So you're either going to
Boston ever get that separation?
What's that?
Did he get the separation in his abs? Did Boston ever get that? I never saw. Like, did his abs ever separate?
No, not that he always had his like bloated, bloated belly, but his abs were never separated. He had like really good thick abs. But no, as far as I can remember, his abs never separated. His stomach was always just really distended, even when he was prepping off season. But as far as ab separation, no.
We had a great competitor at the Olympia in the top 20 that was from 10th to 20th. I forgot what his position was. He does a vacuum. He's a black guy. He does a vacuum now that makes his abs look better, but he has no abs.
You're talking about Charles Griffin.
Charles Griffin, perfect. So Charles Griffin, by the way, I love what he's doing. That's the only solution you can do, is to do a crazy vacuum and never flex your abs. But once you get to that point, once the abs separate, by the way, I have this also for no reason. I mean, I don't know why I have it. I'm not a bodybuilder, but I have that separation. Once it separates, it will never go back to normal. And the truth is, a bodybuilder should be marked down for that. It looks grotesque. Your abs are separating because something's coming out of the midsection. And that's exactly what just happened to Phil Heath. By the way, Phil Heath recently made a video of him going into some jacuzzi. I don't know why. And as he's tilting down in the jacuzzi, you can see like an alien coming out of his stomach. It's still there. It's still there. In between the abs, there's a bulge. In between the abs. So this thing will never get better. Like Samson is going to go downhill. Nick will go downhill in the abs. There's no way around it. And I wish people would talk about this. Like when they see Samson on stage, he has great abs. No, he doesn't. Why are you lying? His abs are separating. Like, this is grotesque, and people should comment on that. But I wanted to ask you guys, before we go to the women's divisions real quick, and I know I don't want to take too long of your time. I know Ariella has to go. But really quickly, what do you guys think is going to happen at the arm? Because you have Rami, Nick, Samson, Sean Clarida, you have Kamal, and I think some other people, I'm forgetting who right now, but namely, I really, and William Bonac, of course. I want to know who you guys think is going to be in the top 3. Specifically,
that's all.
Most likely. Huh?
Honestly, if all of these guys are at their absolute best, I'm just picturing them that way. It would be between Rami and Bonac easily. Them two would definitely battle it out. It'd be really interesting.
Do you think if Bonac is in his best condition, like at the Boston or at the Arnold last year, do you think he beats Nick?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because again, he has that one weapon that Nick lacks, and that structure. With Bonac at his absolute best, completely pilled, dry, and still when he has that pop to his muscle, to kind of the icing on the cake for his physique, he's insanely dangerous. He could win the entire thing. But of course, I'm just coming from the perspective if everybody was at their best. So I think it'd be between him and Rami, and then if everybody else was still at their best, Andrew and Samson would be battling it out for third, and then Nick would fall somewhere after that, because then you're getting down to who has the least weaknesses, and then it would get down to Nick. You have muscle, conditioning's 90%, but you lack structure, and then it would get down to Sean Clarida, to where you have beautiful shape, great conditioning, but you lack size, and not size for his frame, but size comparatively to the other guy standing next to him. I mean, but of course, I'm talking if everybody was at their best. But if I based it on how they looked at the Olympia, Sean's going to catch people slipping because his conditioning's great. He's very smart about it. I think Nick will too. I hope his conditioning is even better. I would love to see Ramy redeem himself. I like Ramy a lot. I think he's a good person and he's got an incredible physique. I would love to see him at his absolute best, because if he comes out and he is the same at the Olympia or worse, like anything, his stock, you know what I'm saying, is going to drop.
Can we be totally honest? Ramy got fifth because he didn't go to the Pittsburgh. That's the real reason. Mannion invited him to the Pittsburgh. He didn't go. They got offended. He would have gotten third, bro. He wouldn't have gotten fifth. It doesn't make sense. He was in great condition. No Olympia competitor has ever came in better condition than ever and gone fifth. It's never happened. The one guy that got fifth, the Arab guy from the line of Lebanon, he wasn't in better condition that Olympia. I mean, I understand his muscles were downsized, but he was in better condition. He tried hard.
Yeah, he missed. What happens is when your muscle bellies are not full and volumized and pushing against the skin, it gives a soft, watery look. With him downsizing, again, these guys have different weapons, and his weapon is size. And when you have that size with his structure, it gives that freak factor.
But let's be honest. Let's be totally honest. When you saw Ronnie Coleman in his last Olympia winning, he looked like shit. If you see the Dorian Yates in his last Olympia winning, he looked like shit. He had no muscle.
No. I agree with you. I definitely think they punished him a little worse than he deserved.
Punished him really bad.
You know, I didn't.
No, they only punish our bodybuilders. The only bodybuilder who ever got fifth from Olympia are ours. I know I don't want to be that guy claiming racism, but truly, both of them are Arabs. It's coincidence, 30 years apart, and they just destroyed him. They moved him to fifth because he didn't come to the Pittsburgh. I mean, it's obvious. Anyone who doesn't want to say this is just turning a blind eye to the situation. Ramy was. I mean, maybe you give him. I don't know. Maybe he could get fourth. But I really think he could have gotten third. Can I ask you something? Nick Walker thinks that Derek Lunsford should have beat Derek Lunsford. He said it recently, talking to Tariq Al-Gundi and other people in the Arnold in the Olympia with the Olympia YouTube channel. He said that I'm not happy that Derek beat me. I think I should have beaten him. Do you guys think that he should have beaten Derek? No, right?
Not even close. It's not even close.
I like Nick, but I don't think it should be him.
Yeah, I like Nick too. I like Nick. I think he's a great person.
Yeah.
And what he's done is great. I wish nothing but the best for him. You know, like I said, I wish he would go to somebody like Hani that could, fully bring him into his absolute best regarding, even if, he doesn't, ever get into that top spot, I would still like to see him at his absolute best. But no, Derek is just on another level. And again, genetics.
Yeah.
Derek's physique is just amazing. The shoulder to waist ratio. I mean, he has certain shots where he looks like he's photoshopped. There's just somebody like, as long as Derek and Hadi are at their best, he's never going to get past those guys ever because the structure.
Can I point out something? So the word is not midget. Dwarfs have long torso. You know what I'm talking about. Have long torsos and short legs. That's a dwarf symptom. You can be short and not a dwarf, and how you can tell is your torso is equivalent to your legs. When your torso starts to get long for your legs, that's the dwarfism syndrome.
Yeah, that's me.
Not that's quite. Nick beats you also, but that's a dwarf kind of look slightly. Nick has more of that, and the thing is, like, when you go on stage, his thighs, his quads look short. He's fixing the torso by going down, but when you compare his legs to other people's, they're smaller because they're short.
That's what I'm saying. They're trying. My thought is that they're maybe like, okay, how can we make this look prettier? I mean, this is just, a very, this pose here is the winning pose for, most Olympians here. So how can we make this look prettier? Okay, we'll crunch down, but like you said, It changes the way his arms looks because almost looks like they're rotated
Yeah.
forward.
Turns
And
down.
he loses his lats a little bit because he's crunching down, makes his waist look a little bit wider. And then maybe I'm just, thinking out loud. Maybe they're thinking, okay, but if you do the dramatic way, like a Dennis Wolf, and have everything up,
Yes.
then you're going to elongate the torso even more, and the legs are going to look weird. So they're trying to bring a little bit more balance, but they're making the structure look worse by doing that pose. Like I said, he's in a very tough position.
Like what I was thinking Nick could do is Botox. I know this sounds ridiculous, but Botox is his waist muscle, like his obliques, a little bit. You don't have to Botox it fully, but right before the competition, like 2, 3 weeks before, it'll cause it to undersize a little bit. Because physically, his waist is wide, his torso is long, and he's strong. So he has muscle in his obliques. You can't avoid this. I mean, I don't know what you could do to minimize this. You can't hide it on stage. I mean, he's doing it. I think maybe he's doing the best job he can, but you can't compete with Derek when you have this torso long, really long torso. Can I ask you?
No, no.
So I understand what you're saying about Hani, sorry, with Branch Warren, because Branch Warren was a perfect example of what he can do with him. So
Yeah.
I totally understand that. Do you see Samson as being in the top 3 at this? You say if he does bring condition, can he beat Andrew if they're both in condition with the current muscle that they have? If Andrew lost all the fat and what?
If they're at their absolute best, I mean, I like Andrew's physique a lot. I really do.
Can I point out that Samson's been working out since 2003, competing since 2013, I think, or 14 or 15, and Samson Andrew has been doing it for 3 years. Less than 3 years he's been bodybuilding. This guy, I mean, he's like 38 or something, like Samson. They're both old, but 3 years. But this guy, he has the potential to overwhelm everybody. Sorry, I interrupted you. I got too excited.
Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, I think it'd be super interesting. I would love to see them at their best and battle it out. I still think I'm a little more of a fan of Andrew's physique. I think if they were at their absolute best, Andrew just has, like you're saying, from the front, your eye just automatically goes to him. He just amazing physique from the front. But
I mean, if you got anyone from the street and brought them into the Olympia and said, "Who's the best bodybuilder here?" and they don't know about bodybuilding, they will pick Andrew. And this is a problem because they would have picked Arnold too. And now we're picking people that the public doesn't understand why you're picking them because they don't look good. You're just getting into this glute thing and all this.
Leo, what's funny? So my sister flew down the same weekend that the Olympia was. So she was watching it and she knows nothing about bodybuilding. So it was interesting hearing her. She was actually pretty spot on with what we would look at when we're judging, but it was funny hearing some of her other opinions as to what looks better for her, because usually to the general eye, it's more like you said, who's your eye going to and the bigger stature. So there was a lot of bodybuilders that she liked, that she was like, oh my God, who's that? Who's that? And they're not people that would have been top 5. She was really good with like pointing out other stuff, but it was funny hearing her side. And this came down to the females as well, just her kind of looking at who she thinks would be top 5 that may not have been top 5, but because of what she thinks, because she's looking at stuff just from what looks better. And, we're looking at things more critical. And, like you said, the glutes and the hamstrings and the abs and all these other really specific things.
But I want to be critical about the clavicles. I want to say, if you're not a wide guy, don't be a bodybuilder. And Nick is not a wide guy. Sean is not a wide guy. Philly's not a wide guy. I know he has good muscle and stuff, but these are not wide people at all. Like, not Philly's actually really not wide. When I saw him doing this, getting into the thing with the alien, I saw like he moved his shoulders, and I realized, whoa, all your shoulders muscle. It actually just ends here. Like, these people are very narrow. And then you have Andrew Jack. Listen, this guy is a specimen. This guy trains with Larry Wheels and is relatively strong with Larry Wheels. Like, from nowhere. He just came from Africa, lived in Dubai, starts training with people, training people, and he's very strong. He has the incredible V shape. He's a true talent. He's like an Arnold from back in the day to some degree. And the reason why bodybuilding did great in the 70s was because Arnold looked great. and nobody really did after him to the public. No one was tall. No one had that incredible. Franco didn't look incredible. That very thin guy that won the Olympia once, that took amphetamines. I forgot his name. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Which Olympia? What year?
The aesthetic Olympia guy, the most aesthetic Olympia guy in the 80s. The very thin guy. He's not really muscular. He's like
Oh, you're talking
20.
about Zane.
Zayn, yeah. So Zayn
Yeah.
is not impressive to the public. I mean, maybe he's a little bit cut, but nothing like Arnold. So that's people always say like, why is bodybuilding not popular anymore? Because they're not impressive to the public. They're not like Arnold. They're not shocking specimens. Andrew is, and I just feel like it's anyway. So that's about Arnold. Ariella, before you leave, can you tell us about what you thought of the women's divisions? I'm very uneducated about it. I don't even know what figure is. I'll be honest with you. I know what fitness is because I know Oksana Grashina, but I
Yes,
don't know
she's
what figure is, to
favorite.
be honest.
She's great. You mean like what they're
I don't
what they
know
look
what they
for?
compete in figure. I never watched properly, and I just realized recently I actually don't know what it is. Like, is it more muscular fitness, or is it less muscular fitness? Is it more muscular than bikini? What is the
So
grading of the muscularity and cuts? And
so muscle wise, it's probably for figure, it's probably most similar to fitness girls. If you had to pick,
oh,
it's probably most similar to fitness girls. Um, over the years, it's gotten way more muscular when it comes to shoulder cap and how lean they want them. Some of these figure girls, their quads, I'm like, this is insane. These chicks are jacked for figure. And back then it was softer. It was a softer look. Um, it's hard to kind of pinpoint. So bikini is just like bikini. They're not looking for much. A little bit of ab definition, a little bit of glute and quad, and then figure is just significantly more muscular, probably on the same scale of, I would say, the fitness girls. A lot of the fitness girls, when they do their posing, that's kind of more similar to figure, and then
yeah.
physique is just the next level up. That's just it's especially nowadays, it's insane. These physique girls are no joke. They're jacked. They're huge. They're way bigger than they were 5 years ago. It's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
don't
almost
know.
like the bodybuilding chicks are like older physique chicks, like now, because they're like in their 30s, they have a bit more muscle, and they're less tied
Yes.
in. They're like blown
Or
out.
or it's just those girls that just can't help their shape and their frame, and they're just better bodybuilders. Like they probably could shrink down, but that girl we were talking about, the really pretty black girl that does
Yeah.
bodybuilding, her frame is it's beautiful to look at. It's she's big, I don't she could probably size down and do physique if she wanted to, but her frame better fits a bodybuilder for sure. 100%.
She's amazing. She doesn't even seem to have hair loss. Like, I don't think she wears a wig. That's a real hair.
That's the thing. That's a major difference. It's like, actually, even a lot of these physique girls, they're wearing wigs. Boston used to tell me,
Yeah.
he's like, a lot of those chicks don't have hair. It's crazy talking to some hairdressers too. When they get some bodybuilders, they're like, their hair is just like that short, and then they need the wigs and everything like that, which is, it's crazy. It's like if you're healthy and that's what makes you happy, and you just happen to suffer from hair. I mean, I don't know how healthy some of these girls can be that have no hair. It's like, I'm not trying to judge, but it's like, at what point are you like, no, I don't want to do this. I'm losing my hair,
No, and I'm not judging them because I think they go through probably a lot of self-confidence issues when they go through this. I don't think any woman can go through hair loss, male pattern hair loss, and not feel somewhat self-critical, and not maybe justifiably, just they'll feel bad, and I don't want them to go through that, obviously. But
Yeah.
I think I think it's interesting that some guys don't go bald, like Boston and me. I don't really.
Yeah.
I've never protected it, and then some chicks go completely bald, and some chicks go like get full beards, like full, like you could just see that they're shaving in the morning, stubble. So it's
Yep, I've
pretty
seen
interesting.
that. Some of the chicks, they wear the bandanas to cover their hairline, and there's some side effects I told Boston that I'm willing to deal with. I'm like, you know what, those side effects I'm willing to deal with, and there's others that
Yeah.
I'm not
Well, not to be
okay.
too detailed, but I think the clit growth, sorry, the clit growth is okay. I don't think anyone's like, oh, this is crazy. But the balding and the beard, because that doesn't go away also when you stop. Like, I don't know if you remember, Ariella, there was this female bodybuilder or competitor from another division who got caught in Las Vegas she was on a meth run or something, and in her mugshot, she just has like a long goatee. And it was this long. It was this long. Yeah, yeah, it was
No,
like wispy and long. She was like
I
stunned. She was on meth. She was like shocked, and then this goatee was just
no,
there.
I
I
haven't.
was like, ah,
Was
she's suffering.
she was a bodybuilder?
Yeah, I'll send you a picture after. I'll remember who it was.
You have to send
But
me a
it's
picture.
so also the fitness competitor who not Oksana, the other competitor. I don't know if she won this
Missy?
year. Yeah, Missy is amazing. True Scott. Yeah,
Yeah.
she has like such an impressive physique, and she's very beautiful. I find this yeah, very, very impressive. Okay, so I think we covered this a little bit. I think next week I don't know if Ariel. So just for the audience to know, Ariel has to go right now. But what I would love to do is, and eventually Ariel can have her own channel to do this if she wants. But I was hoping we could get like a female podcast to it at some point, because there are very few for female competitors. There are very few. Like recently, I found a bikini, but there are very few. And Ariella has a lot of expertise. Not only that, but she never masculinized herself, which is an incredible accomplishment. Now, maybe because of her genetics or whatever, but she certainly knows a lot about it. So I think she can. So what I was hoping is to do like a, if you're open to it in the future, and if you're not, of course, but maybe you can start to interview people, females, and you could start on my channel, then start your own channel, whatever you
Yeah,
prefer. And
yeah,
whenever you
definitely.
want, exactly. Okay, great. That's what was the
Yeah, that
original plan.
works.
And then whenever you want, you can also come with the Blue and I. Next week, Blue and I will take questions from the audience like we used to with Boston, and we'll probably have a
Yeah.
guest. And then Ariella can continue whenever. And well, it's great to see you, Ariella. It really makes me happy to see you.
Thank you, Leo. Yeah, thank you for having me. If any of your guests ever have questions about Boston, I mean, I always love talking about Boston. I always love talking about what me and Jackson's life is like. You know, at any point, I'll be really happy to come on a podcast and just talk about that. So at any
Yes,
time you
we
need,
should.
just let me know. Because I have mornings available and Jackson's at VPK, and I'd be happy to come on. And we could talk more about the women's podcast too. I'd be happy to help because it is kind of lacking in that field too. So yeah,
You
I
know,
I agree.
I think like the biggest problem in life is death. And anyone who's conscious and intelligent realizes initially in early life, like, this is a joke. I'm going to die and not exist anymore. And this is so close. It's gonna happen any minute. And for me to walk around pretending I'm relaxed in life is ridiculous, actually. Death is such a serious problem. It's the major problem of life. The only way I found to get along with death is like my channel's called Leo Longevity because I'm always close to death and I'm trying to live longer. I'm trying to incentivize myself to live longer. But there's another way also, which is to be remembered. I'm hoping that one day when I die, people will remember me a little bit. Let me give you an example. Jerry Ward from BioS3 Training. I watched so many of his videos. I was somewhat friends with him, but just because I watched so many of his videos, sometimes I think of him now, like he's dead, and then sometimes I think like, oh man, I miss that guy. Like I have that feeling. Of course, I think of Boston that way, but I knew Boston more. I think that's the way to live on for eternity, to be to be deathless, sort of, is if people remember you and take the effort to remember you, which I think
I,
Boston has that from everyone. I get messages all the time about Boston, constantly. Like just
I get
yesterday,
messages
someone
all
sent
the
me
time.
voice notes. Yeah, someone sent me voice notes saying, like, explaining, like, I know Leo, I didn't know Boston, but I watched Boston since 2012, and I feel like I knew him. And losing him was an
I
impact
get
of losing a friend.
so many of those messages. Actually, Leo, I've been saving them. Any comments or emails I get, I copy and paste into my notes. Who said it and what they said, because I want to print it out and I want to show Jackson when he's older how many lives Boston had impacted, whether it's a client, a fan, or whatnot, because that's so important to me. Jackson was he was 3, 4, he was so young that he knew Boston as like his dad, but he didn't really know who his dad was. He didn't know really who his dad was in the bodybuilding community. And that bothers me. You know, it hurts to know that Jackson's never going to see his dad that way in person,
He
but
will.
through all
He'll
these messages, yes, through all these messages and all the podcasts that are still there, I'm hoping that Jackson can see that when he's older. I'm really looking forward to it.
Really quickly, I know you have to go, but I just wanted to say he will, because I grew up sort of similar to this. I had an ancestor who was dead, but he was very famous in Dubai because of his unusual life. And even though I lived in his shadow, I heard about him all the time, constantly. And I always used him as a role model of what can happen in life, what you can do if you put your will to it. And Boston is literally a legend. Literally a legend. There's no question that Boston's a legend. Anyone who says otherwise is ridiculous. They don't understand. He's more of a legend than any current competing bodybuilder. Period. So
Yeah.
Jackson will feel that.
I'm a little biased, but I agree.
No,
I
it's
agree.
true. So, but Jackson will feel that, and that's awesome also. But okay, this is great. I don't want to get too emotional, but I get happy talking stuff. Yeah, I feel Boston's.
Yeah, I did want to mention, man, talk to people about Boston all week. Almost every day, somebody says something about Boston.
Yeah.
Whether, you know, it's something just the smallest thing or to a funny ass story of something he said or whatever, like he will not be forgotten. I won't allow it. He never will be, because he was such a unique person. And Leo, like you've talked about, you know, in detail, like his honesty was on another level. And, you know, that's why me and him connected so well. I mean, he's just brutally honest, and it didn't matter. You know, the truth was just so important to him. But yeah, he's not forgotten. Jackson will absolutely know who his dad is.
Well, even if he wasn't honest and a very good person, which are enough reason for him to be a legend, but his just influence, because sometimes I think about this, like you can be a good person, but not influence many people toward good, or you can be I mean, you can be a smart person, but not make much of a difference in life because you can influence people and you're just yourself. Boston had a major, I'm not talking about influencer stuff. I'm saying his thinking, his own personal discoveries changed bodybuilding completely. So he had a major influence. And what I was saying earlier was that because Ariella was talking about remembering Boston and talking about Boston, I think that's our duty to keep his himself alive. You know, because how we live on past ourselves is really that our actions echo in the halls of eternity. And they echo when people remind people of that. You know what I mean? Okay.
100%.
Okay. I'll get depressing if I stay on. So I have to get off and do other things.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. Okay. So I'll text you, Ariella, and
Yes.
Blue. And Blue, we go next week for sure. And Ariella, if you want to.
Yeah, I'm on. Yeah, definitely. Oh, and Ariella, the peptide site.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And also the forum.
Peptides. Yep. Everything is still being run. I'm still on Boston's forum. Still selling the pre-workout, the synthol, and real peptides as well. So everything is still running. I know some people ask me, are you still doing the synthol? You're still doing this? And I am. So that's probably why it took me.
Colombo just shat on the synthol. Did you see that a couple of months ago? He's like, he's like, I have two synthol companies. He mentioned like, what are the two synthol ones he used to carry, Blue? Do you remember that?
Old back in the day, it was like painless pumps. I don't know if they still do
painless
that.
pumps. So painless pumps guy died, and the other guy died also. Both of the synthol companies. So he was like, I still have a bit of stock with them. These have real science to them, so I recommend them. The other synthol companies don't have real science. You know what science is, Palumbo? Science is not what you include in. What do you think is in this oil that you're injecting from painless pumps? What do you think it is? Bro, this guy needs to go back to school. Today he did a kidney video criticizing Nick Trigili, and in the kidney video was making mistakes about kidney biology. I'm like, fuck, you can't do anything right. But anyway, he tried to shit on the synthol thing. The synthol is oil, just so you guys know. There is no science to any of it. It's oil. I mean, if there's any science,
yes,
it's
it
about
depends on for sure the quality of oil. So Boston made sure he formulated it that wasn't some shitty oil that's going to cause redness and it's going to hurt, because a lot of these oils will have like a painkiller kind of in them to help with the inflammation and the fact that it hurts so bad. Yeah, and they don't have that in Boston synthol because it's not going to cause excruciating pain. It's an oil that's going to be absorbed better. Each formula that goes up, it adds something else. So one adds shark oil, one adds silica, the next one has hyaluronic acid in it as well. So they all are for different body, like
Hyaluronic
some
acid is science.
other body parts. And it's really good quality oil. It sells so well, barely without me promoting it. And that's from reoccurring customers. So that just speaks for itself. I barely promote the synthol and we get sales. It's like insane. It's the number
And
one
Boston
thing.
too, he barely promoted it at all. He never
Barely
mentioned
promoted
it
it.
on my podcast.
Nope. And like some
Yeah.
guy just bought 5 bottles a few hours ago. It's just like it sells itself. So that just the proof is in the pudding. You know, people are going to keep buying it because they like how it looks, they like the results, they like, you know, it's just, it speaks for itself. So that's all I have to say about the synthol.
Blue, next week I want to ask you a lot about getting in condition on stage, and also I want to ask you about synthol. I have a lot of questions because finally, I don't like bodybuilding in terms of dehydration and getting on stage. I don't know anything about it because I was an arm wrestler and stuff. But now, by force, because of Bonac and other things, I've been following the people getting ready for competitions, and I'm very confused about that. And I've also been rewriting, like I've been writing contest prep stuff, and like for example, leaving anadrol or using Superdrol instead of anadrol in the last moments to fill people up. I want to talk to you about these things next week. So we'll have
absolutely.
useful
Yeah,
conversation.
we'll
Okay.
go more in depth next week.
All right, guys. Well, I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for waiting for me. I'm very grateful, and I'll see you guys again next week.
Thanks
Ariella,
for having
Absolutely.
thanks,
me. Bye. Bye, Blue.
Bye.
All right, guys. Talk soon.